every TypeScript. Oh, I have audio monitor. Sorry, I had my audio monitoring on, so it came out of the speakers. So I, not without issue, apparently. So we recently converted over to TypeScript, and by converting over, we made all the files TS and .tsx. While in the process, well, there's just 1,000 type errors, as you probably know. And since there's only a couple of people working on this site, and only one person working on it full time as of now, you can see that we have amassed quite the list of TypeScript errors. Now, granted, a lot of these are going to be easily fixable. That's not the point. The point is that there's a lot to do here, and I've been really just spending some time doing it because that's really what you got to do when you have big errors, big issues. You can see some messiness in the globals file that exists. But what am I doing? Well, the biggest thing that I'm going to be doing here is just finding one specific error, one specific part of the code base, and just sort of going from there. So nothing too crazy. Like for instance, update profile. Hey, this seems like a good one. I just picked it out of this red mass of red errors. So I think it said update profile was the one I wanted to look at. And you might be wondering, well, how are we even getting the site to compile if this is the case, if there's this many issues? Well, there's this many issues specifically because we have, like I said, converted over. But right now we're just basically using Babel to compile the TS, which in turn sort of turns TypeScript into a fancy linter, and very fancy linter, right? And obviously that's not great. So I'm doing all sorts of fun stuff here. For instance, just finding a file with a bunch of little things like this. And you can see we have a whole bunch of grid. Yeah, okay. Accounts is obviously not going to be found. That's coming in from a Meteor package. Okay, so first things first, I've been doing a little bit of work to clean up some of these files with my favorite thing in the world, just comments. Like this, I do stuff like this all the time. I'm also going to move these update profiles and toggle betas. I'm going to have to move these into, let's move these into .graphql files. We can do that in a minute here. The reason we're going to be moving them to GraphQL files is because that way our code generator we talked about in the previous live stream will be able to automatically generate the hooks and everything we need for those, such as toggle beta, update user profile, those sort of things. So let's get the easiest one out of the way, which is going to be grid. Now this component, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, this is a basic grid component. It's a CSS grid, and we can pass it an array or a number. And this array of numbers is going to determine at different breakpoints, small, medium, large, how many columns it should be. So let's go into the grid. This is a styled component. This exists like this. And you can see here that, wow, it's kind of nasty. Also, it could be an array or a string. I actually don't think it can be a string. It can just be a number. I didn't write this line, so I'm going to blame Eric on it, even though he probably didn't write it. So IE websites ask if I like TypeScript. I like TypeScript, and I say that in that way specifically because I like TypeScript, but holy hell, look at this, you know, overload props, pick, detailed HTML props, button HTML attributes, HTML button. Yeah, I'm still new to types, but I've been working a lot more with typed languages in general. So for me, I don't know. I want to like it. Well, I do like it. It is just difficult for me, and I'm still learning. So columns is a default of an empty array here. And I wrote the type in here, but I'm changing up how I'm doing these types on my styled components. Also, I'm not quite sure what's up with this extra bracket. This is kind of a nasty looking component. So maybe if we break this down, this will make more sense. This is just the standard grid property stuff. And this is the whole thing that is looking to determine whether or not the columns is an array. If it is an array or not, then do it at our breakpoints like we have. It's a little bit of interesting code here. So what I want to do is I'm going to move the type definition out of the function in the styled component. And I'm going to move it to right up top here. We're going to say calls, and calls is going to be equal to, I think it's either going to be a number or a number array. And get rid of this here. Expected comma. Again, I'm still new to some of this stuff, and I'm already making a mistake here, and I don't know why columns. I guess this is coming in as a object. I don't think it is. Wait, okay, sorry. Hold on one second. I just did some of this stuff. I'm redoing how I'm doing my styled components, and typically, yeah, I guess I was doing it in an object like this. Okay, whatever. So, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Cannot find the name calls. Yeah, there we go. Updated. Okay, so that's the fix there. This is basically saying, hey, grid can accept some props. One of those props is a columns, and it's either going to be a number or an array of number. Now, keep in mind, there's all sorts of weird little situations that you can find yourself in with TypeScript and React, where like we do a lot of generated code. It looks like this is just an extra one. We do a lot of generated code, and those get some pretty nasty looking types. So for me, it's like trying to figure out the best way to work with the generation stuff as well as outside of the generation stuff, so that they all work really nicely together, which is really just the ultimate concern, considering all this stuff is so painful sometimes. Okay, so as you can see, just simply by changing the way I typed that, the way I had it before was I was typing the prop in the usage of the prop. I'm not quite sure why I did it that way, but I had made that choice a while ago. And I clearly saw somebody else do that, because I wouldn't have come up with that on my own. But this is the better way, and it's now working. There we go. Now let's see, this cancel action, this is coming from a library, fresh forms. So I have to update the type on fresh itself. What else in here? Default values. This is also coming from fresh forms. So I will have to update that in fresh. And yeah, so far so good. Also, let's see what some other things. So this user coming in from types, this should actually be coming in from UI-generated, which was a big old thing that we went through in the last video, because this user that we're pulling in from UI generated is going to be the client side one, not the server side one. We don't want the server side one because the server side one doesn't necessarily say what fields this actually has. I know these kind of comments are not everybody's favorite thing, but I found that if I separate my files these sort of ways, just have the component up top here, all right, then the types, then the styles, then it keeps everything organized. Now, one of the things I mentioned I wanted to do, which we can do on stream here, is move this toggle beta as well as the update user profile into actual GraphQL files. So let's do that right now. We're going to have a new file, which is just going to be update user profile.graphql. And this file is just going to contain everything that would be within these, like this. And we're also going to, I'm not deleting this for a reason right now. I'll show you why. I don't want any of my code to break. I'm gonna have to compile the site so that it hits the API and generates this files for me. So I have to have a working site for this to work here. We're also gonna have this toggle beta. New file, toggle beta.graphql, and paste this in here, mutation toggle beta. Cool. Okay, so we have those two things in here, and you might be wondering, how the heck am I going to run the code compiler or the code gen? How am I ever going to run the code gen if I have this many TypeScript errors? A lot of TypeScript errors, right? Well, lucky for you, I am running two different types of Meteor TypeScript packages. And so all I have to do is uncomment out this top one and then comment out this bottom one. What's the difference between these two packages? In fact, probably makes sense for me to even move them right next to each other. The difference is that this Meteor TypeScript one has more options and is actually using the TypeScript compiler. This one, this top one, using Babel to compile TypeScript. So obviously, using Babel to compile TypeScript, it doesn't actually check the types. So it's not checking the types before it compiles it. It's just compiling it. So if I uncomment out this one and comment out, whatever I just said there, then what's going to happen is the site's now going to compile. In fact, let me pull this up. For those wondering about level up tutorials, GraphQL, our entire API is GraphQL using Apollo and Meteor. So this is the page. Let me actually just make sure this won't have my address or something on it real quick. So we can look at the page itself. And I'm glad I checked. It did not have my address, but it could have. So this is the page I'm working on. It has the ability to change your theme. Has the ability to do any of this neat stuff, update your email, change your password, whatever. This is the page, which is also funny. I don't know why it didn't actually change the theme here. Might be because I'm doing some work on it. Either way, whole lot of red. Are you referring to my sweatshirt or this? Because both of them is a whole lot of red. By the way, this sweatshirt is, for those of you from Michigan, anybody, this is the Mount Brighton of Brighton, Michigan, Team Extreme. Team Extreme. Also known as the rental department of where I was employed for several years. Okay. So lots of red, lots of red, lots of red. But you can tell that the site's compiling now. It's compiling. So now that the site is compiling, let's go ahead and run our code gen npm run code gen. I typed npm rum, which is pretty dope. Be cool if I could get some rum out of npm. All right, so this is going to compile, and it creates our generation. And now with that little step out of the way, I'm going to once again comment this one out and do this one. Why? Well, I kind of like having that feedback of, X, Y, Z getting crossed off the list. So I'd like to use this one. Okay, so update profile. So what we can do now is get rid of these two, because what that has done for us is it now has generated hooks. So we no longer have to use the use mutation hook that we had here. We don't have to do that anymore. Use user update profile. We don't have to do that. So what we can now do is import some stuff from generated, where we can import, I think it is use. I probably should have kept those over in toggle beta. Use toggle beta mutation and use update user profile mutation. That's going to be a long function name. Use update user profile mutation. Look at that. Now we can replace these. This use mutation, we can replace this one with this and no longer require this first argument. And really what I should be doing is updating the query manually, or the state manually, the cache manually, but refetch queries can work sometimes. That's fine. Use toggle beta mutation as well as use profile mutation. There we go. And now, not only are those type errors going to go away, or whatever errors are going to go away, the coolest thing is this is all going to be typed correctly now, because these are all generated using, like I mentioned in the last live stream, GraphQL code generator. And because of that, they are all typed so exquisitely and perfectly that I no longer have to think about this. I don't have to do any types, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing so many red errors, is because we're moving from hand typing to generated types, and the generated types are way more specific and better than ours were. So now we can get rid of use mutation, get rid of that. There we go, there we go, there we go. Hey, my computer's running a lot better than last time. So interesting. Okay, so we're getting this default values from form. Not great. This other cancel action is missing type. Yeah, not great. Again, these errors are coming from a third-party library, so I'm not going to focus on them right now. This is an interesting one right here. So this is a new one that came from this, and it's saying that update user profile. It's saying that the ID cannot be null, which probably makes sense. Let's see. Let's check out the profile input. I think that's in user. Profile input. Nope. What happens if I search for profile input? Where does that exist? There it is. Oh, it's in the right file. What gives? Yes, this theme is not synthwave. For those of you responding with synthwave, it's kind of like synthwave, but it's better in my mind. Hold on one second, I'll get it. VS Code. It's called Retreon, but nobody ever spells that correctly, so I'm going to get the exact link for you. This was the theme that when I found it had like nobody. I'm talking nobody using it. Oh, it's not letting me. It's not letting me chat from OBS, and I don't have YouTube open. So it's Retreon, spelled R-E-T-R-E-O-N. Retreon. And the page looks like this for it. So if you'd like to use it, just Google this. Thank you, Kenny G. What do I use for inline TS error? It does look handy, right? It is super handy. It's an, let's see. It's called like error line or something like that. Error lens. It might be this one. Error lens. And it's not just TypeScript. It's any error that you have in VS Code. It puts it on a line. And let me warn you that although this this extension is very good, it is also extremely obnoxious for our spell checker and things like that, especially with words that aren't like real words, which I do occasionally use. Okay, so I got out of the file that I actually wanted to be in. User profile input, and let's see. So profile input, name, last name, street address. Oh, so there is no ID here. And let me check, but I'm pretty sure all I said was, hey, give me that profile input, and then I passed an ID into it. No, but I said profile, and then the ID was the ID. So this is a perfect example of the times that I love TypeScript. Let me tell you why here. I'll tell you why. The reason why I love TypeScript right now, because what it's doing is it found a time, such as our update user profile mutation, where we're updating the current user profile. And the issue here is that we used to pass in the ID of the user as a parameter to this, but it honestly makes no sense because we already have the access to the user coming straight from the server side, which is what I want to trust anyways. So it's not like I was just going to update people's IDs because we actually use the one from the server. So when I was rewriting the server method, I was like, well, why the heck are we even accepting the ID if we're one, not using it, but two, it's not important to us because we're already getting it from somewhere else, right? So I changed the API and I never changed the front end of the code here. And so TypeScript just said, hey, and keep in mind, this is all generated. I didn't write any of this. So TypeScript was just like, hey, you know, I noticed that you passed an extra parameter in here. And TypeScript, what's up? So yeah, that was a pretty sweet job of TypeScript. Again, this form error is going to come in from fresh forms, which is something I need to fix in my own time here. And maybe I'll do it on a stream sometime. And what else? Oh yeah, check this out. Yeah, check out that hair. So I got my funk hat on. So accounts. It cannot find accounts because accounts is just sort of being referenced as a global package. It's a Meteor thing, which in itself isn't so bad, but I don't know why in the world I would have ever done it that way. You can do accounts from Meteor. I think it's just accounts. Actually, I take that back. It probably counts like this. Let's see. Cannot find accounts from, and I'm using accounts password. Can I just get it from accounts password? I might have to check the Meteor docs on this one. I'm going to check Meteor's docs real quick. Meteor JS docs. Okay, pull these over. So I'm using Meteor. Those of you who don't know a lot about Meteor might be confused about that decision. I've been using a Meteor for a long time. It's a great platform for a lot of reasons. And Meteor seems like this sort of black box or this sort of like big solution, but it's really not. It's just a node site, really. And it plays nice with TypeScript. And I moved my thing over somehow. Sorry, I don't know how I did that. Me and OBS is me constantly saying, huh, I don't know how I did that. Oh, let's move this up so we get rid of the header. There we go. Cool. Okay. Me, OBS, that's exactly. All right, so what are we looking for in here? Well, we're using the accounts package, and the accounts package, what am I even using from accounts? I'm using change password. Change. You got to type correctly to get that to work. Oh yeah, where is this accounts password? Change password. And so the cool thing about Meteor Stocks is ever since they moved it to TypeScript, they gave you this neat little thing. Because back in the days of Meteor, when the site was originally built, like way back in the days, you didn't have to import anything, and I just didn't. And now you still don't have to import certain things like Meteor packages, but it's nicer if you do. There we go. All right, that error is gone, and hopefully what that's going to do is get rid of this error. Got rid of that error. Cool. Error reason does not exist on type of error, Meteor, error, whatever. Should that be error message? Am I doing something dumb here? Why is this property reason does not exist on... Am I doing something dumb? Let me see. Send reset password. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to give me an error. I wonder if that's like a weird Meteor thing, but hey, I changed it to message, which what it should have been, and it went away. So, woof. I don't know about that. Part of me is always, this code base is it's not very old because it changes all the time. But it has gone through a migration from one front-end framework to another. It was originally built on Blaze, and then it was converted to React. The API was first done in Meteor, and now it's using GraphQL. So that was a transition. It was all written in JavaScript, and now it's written in TypeScript. I mean, there's just been so many changes that you're bound to find things like all of those. So check it out. Look at that. All of these errors are gone, with the exception of these ones coming in from form, which are things that I have to fix in the library itself. So time to head back to the big wall of red and pick some more out, because that's what I'm doing here. TypeScript. If you want to get some experience reading TypeScript and React code, this is not a bad way to do it, is to just find a whole bunch of different stuff like this. I could dive into this course listing stuff, but to be honest, some of that stuff is still being worked on. My subscription Stripe. This will be a perfect one to work on, specifically because this page should be insanely simple. This page is basically saying, hey, we noticed that you are still on Stripe subscriptions, which of course was something that we had in like 2015, Stripe-based subscriptions. We moved off of Stripe because of Stripe's limitations in general and moved to Braintree. And now, to avoid shipping Stripe stuff to a lot of people, we just said, hey, you know what? If you are on a Stripe account, because there's only a handful of people who still are, if you're on a Stripe account, then check it out. We will simply just do it manually, and it just should take them to an email form. Now, granted, I wouldn't do this normally, but for like 50 people, whoever, whatever, it's not too much of a... And if anybody had their subscription lapse and wanted a refund on it, happy to do it. Okay, so object is possibly null or undefined. It's coming in from user subscription plan name. User is coming in as a prop, and part of the issue here very well may be... part of this issue very well may be the fact that this is coming in from types and not UI generated. These are our generated types for the front end specifically, generated. And I don't think so, because the object is possibly null. I don't think user is possibly null, but maybe. I don't think user is possibly null at this point. Maybe this component doesn't know that. But also, like if I just did this, I don't think that's going to fix it. Or is it saying that plan? I think it's saying that plan is... So the funny thing about sometimes you get these errors and you can optional chain all the way up until the error goes away. Isn't that fantastic, right? Your subscription is the, and then I can say it's either that or the Pro plan. Reason being, the reason why I don't want to spend too much time on this component specifically is because Vertex, you are on a nice little street that you're going down right now. This component cannot possibly at all be loaded. Cannot possibly be loaded without a user having a subscription. More importantly, this cannot possibly exist without a user.subscription.plan.name. Just cannot happen. I guess you could use the exclamation point for that, which I think is probably what it's for. But I don't know. Like I said, this component is not something that I need to think about for too long here. There we go. But no more TypeScript errors. Hey, that's the goal, right? That's the goal. No more errors, no more red, or is the goal to actually have strong working code? Which one of it is those? Okay, let's find out some more things to do. Those of you who are just joining us, what I am doing is I'm picking from the giant wall of red here, and I am going to solve some of these TypeScript errors. Ooh, product.tsx. This is another good one. Product.tsx. Here's another little fun fact about this website, is that this site used to, oh yeah, it's no longer going to load. This site used to be two sites. I had a store and I had a normal site, and they were both sharing the same database, and they were even passing a cookie between them so that when you logged into one, it logged you into the other and sort of neat stuff. And then I was thinking, like, why am I making this so difficult? So I JS mushed them together, and this is the end result. Another one of the reasons why the site has some weird stuff. That said, products in this site are a little iffy, because we, at least at one point in time, had a product in the database as an entirely separate thing from a tutorial series. And then when I said, well, I want to start selling the tutorial series as they are without having to do a whole bunch of shared data between the two, I realized, why the heck would I ever need to have them be separate? It made no sense. So I smushed them together in the database, and we have some product stuff left over, but it's not going to be super common throughout this site. So, because I'm doing it all basically on the playlist itself. But now what the product components end up doing for us now is they really just sort of serve as a wrapper around something. So for instance, the product layout is going to show the product, and the product is going to have the series card, the unlock button, and everything like that. So if you go to any Level Up Tutorials page, in fact, let me if you try to go to any series that you have not purchased, or if you don't have a subscription to, and let's say the latest series, funny, I got to mention the latest series from Level Up Tutorials is that Advanced Animating React with Framer Motion. That's totally wild that I got to do that. And what you can see here, this framework or this page has what's new in Framer. Okay, these are all the videos unlocked to watch. And here is the quote unquote product. This thing exists to allow you to buy it. Now, some of the CSS here needs to be a little tweaked. I always see things. Also, there's a neat full screen button that exists for no video. This first video should be available as a public view. So I'll need to change that as well. So this up top here, this card, this text, these buttons, that is the product. That is this component right here. So let's get to work with all of this red. It is scary. Scary amount of red here. So first things first, I'm going to add a CS comment here so that we get our styles. Just these comments are obviously non-functional. They're just here to, you know, separate things a little bit, keep things organized. I noticed that once I got types and styles and all these things, maybe GraphQL queries, all this stuff in one component, it started getting real messy. So I have been keeping a little bit more organized like this. Okay, so we have a product data, which is simply just, this is just a wrapper, or this is the wrapper product. So this is super funny. This is a classic case of like not taking the time to refactor, but just like stacking and stacking and stacking. So checking it out here, we have the product, which is the actual product component that contains a series. Then we have the product wrapper, which contains a product layout, including the product just down here. And all this is a motion div. Okay, so all it is a motion div. But then above that, we have the product data, which is just letting the product wrapper null if the product is visible. Why? Why would I need both of these? These are the kind of questions I ask myself when I'm stumbling upon older code. I just say, huh, why is this like this? And then I change it. And then I say, oh, that's why it was like that, because I broke something. Let's fix some of these. No overload matches this call. This is a common error that you'll see. No overload. Yep. So no overload. Look at this. So this is one of the reasons I don't love TypeScript in some regard, because when you first start out, you hit this kind of thing and you see, ooh, this is going to be a tough one, right? But in reality, the answer really comes down to knowing where to look here. The expected type comes from property as, which is declared here on intrinsic attributes, pick, detailed HTML attributes, whatever. Okay, so it's clearly having an issue coming from this as prop. And this actually might be a tricky one to solve, because calls is going to be a commonly used layout type here. We have this styled div named calls. And what I'm telling it to do is I'm telling it to say, hey, you know how you're a div? Well, how about you be a motion div? And then you can get animate and initial. Now, SCAlign, yeah. Okay, SCAlign, this one's probably fine because SCAlign, which stands for, what does that stand for? And why would I name something SCAlign? And in here, you might actually get to find out that SCAlign does not exist on calls, which may actually be the source of this error here. It's kind of weird that it wouldn't have said that in a little bit more of explicit terms. But let's see. So if I get rid of SCAlign, which clearly does not exist on the parent, on the actual thing that we're working with here, this layout. Oh, something in my eye. Ooh, not so good. Big ouchies. Okay, so so that fixed it. So let's, for the sake of fun, let's add that back here. Sorry, people, my eye is going nuts right now. I got something in it. Not sure what. Okay, so no overload matches this call. Sorry, it's gonna look like I'm like tearing out my eyes. Like, I don't know how I could have gotten something in it. Okay, so SCAlign center. And if I do function F8, no overload, where in here, okay, property S, See, like I said, this is all just about knowing where to look, and I looked in the wrong spot. I hate these giant errors. But the big one, SCAlign does not exist on type intrinsic attributes. You're right. SCAlign does not, and it should not, and that is a change of the API, and that's the exact kind of thing that TypeScript finds that your normal JavaScript will just go, oh, okay, cool. SCAlign goes right into the div, does absolutely nothing other than polluting the code. Cool. So Vertex, you would be right if SCAlign did anything. So Vertex has the solution for if SCAlign was an actual prop, you would have it on here for calls. However, you'll notice that SCAlign does absolutely nothing. We simply just has this. That's a crappy name. That doesn't sound like something I would have named anything, but here we are. Okay, so cool. One thing I've been doing lately, this is going to sound kind of funny. Casey asked what the theme is. This is Retreon, Retreon, Retreon. Not that many people using this theme, I'll tell you that. Okay, that's what I'm all about here. I'm all about these little tiny hard to find themes that you can pick out of different places. I go hunting, theme hunting. Okay, sorry, enough of that. One thing I've been doing is I've been moving a lot of my styled components or a lot of my CSS out of styled components into not utility classes, but definitely more of like if it doesn't need to be a styled component, for instance, right here, centering the text on a container is something I do all the time throughout this site. And many times, this isn't one of them, but many times you'll find styled components in this code base that look just like this, where all it's doing is adding text-align center to something. The reason being is because if you just add the style text prop on here for styled components, then there is some weirdness where it like creates a whole other class and it's just like totally unnecessary. It adds a whole extra class. So then you wind up creating a styled component when in reality, the right answer should have been from the start, and I don't know why I never thought about it, would have been to just do it with a class. Like, sometimes you'll over-engineer problems for, just for things. Okay, so this is another one of these no overload matches this call. It'll be better to approach this one before product price, because product price is used throughout other places. So product wrapper, no overload. We do function F8. Width does not exist on intrinsic attributes. Pick. Okay. So what's up with product layout? I believe product layout is simply just the layout component, which is going to be over here. Layout. Where you at? And okay. So this is easy. Can I upload this project to GitHub? I cannot. Yeah, that's actually a good question, Austin. Why styled div instead of style div? I would assume that because at one point this was not a style div, but if we slide this over and we look at the git blame, I think we're going to have to ask Eric Sartorius why he made that call. I'm gonna have to ask him why he did that. No, it's probably something that I did a long time ago and he just modified. So style div. The thing is that still this isn't going to fix the problem still. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Should be style.div. So the solution is to do exactly what we did in one of these other ones. This one, grid, where instead of defining, and I don't know why I did it this way. Again, I think I saw this in somebody else's code base, and this is how I was doing it. And it seemed to work, but now it's not working anymore. I don't know, to be honest. So I was defining the types when in the usage of the prop, which actually is terrible. It doesn't. It's like ugly. It's hard to read. There's nothing good about it. There we go. So just by saying width string, and hopefully we should see this red go away. Gone. Okay. I would jump and dance around more, but my camera has been shutting off in all sorts of weird ways when you bump it. I want to bump it. Um, what time is it? 3:09. All right, I might have put a stop to this and hit the gym for a little bit because I've been doing what you're seeing in this video. I've been doing it all day. So this is actually what my entire day has consisted of, which is always a lot of fun, right? But that's the life you live when you constantly converting your code base to something else. Let's do this last one, finish off this file. So this file is currently telling us that product price has two issues. Price and sales price have issues. Price and sales price are both optional strings. Price shouldn't be an optional string because, hey, there's no default here. And sales price, yes, you should be an optional string. So I'm not quite sure I know what the issue is here, unless it's like I need to do like an or string thing here. So let's figure out what TS is complaining about. And so this product price bit is either showing this striked out one or this one. I realize these prices are tiny. I am not using Redux Toolkit. I am not using Redux. So that's pretty dope. Do not like them. Sam I am. What's media in utilities? And does it simply wrap the CSS in a media query string? Yes, it does. That's it. In fact, this is the exact same, might be under breakpoints. Yeah, this is the exact same code that Styled Components recommends using when you're doing this kind of thing. I don't know if I love it anyways. I might just start going back to normal media queries. It's kind of ugly. But yeah, these are our standard breakpoints. So we can say media dot small and then wrap it, wraps the whole thing in a breakpoint. It's not really saving us that much mental overhead, but yeah. So it is complaining that they could potentially be undefined. So type null is not assignable to type string or undefined. Type null string or undefined is not typed. So that's interesting that type string or null or undefined is not assignable to type string or undefined. So, I mean, the easy solution would just to say that, oh, hey, this thing could be null here, right? Because I think that's, or undefined. I think that's the problem, is that it's, I mean, you could always do the string null or undefined bit. But I don't think that's, the problem is that price, series.price is a, the problem is that string series.price is potentially null. Series.salePrice is also potentially null. And by saying that it's allowed to be null, I guess you don't have to have undefined here, do you? Or do you? Because doesn't the optional allow that to work? Sometimes TypeScript is so slow in VS Code here that I gotta like, come on, I gotta get that instant feedback. I would not say TypeScript is overused. Well, maybe it's overused. You don't need it in a static website, but like this kind of application, what I'm doing here, there's no TypeScript. I'm telling you that the amount of little API change bugs that we found since moving over to TypeScript, sure, that's my fault in the first place, but it's a big site. And with more people would come more misery, I think, in that regard. Okay. So it looks like that just saying, hey, these things are allowed to be null and or undefined, that fixed the problem, especially because we are checking if they are null in here before displaying anything. So, I think I win. So I have officially cut down on several components TypeScript redness, and you may not be able to see that in here. Actually, what was this meteor one? Product cannot find name meteor. But I didn't see that in here. Product. I didn't even see the word meteor in here. Meteor. Yeah, it said you couldn't find the name meteor. That's a lie. That is a lie. But join me some other time as I continue this giant. I'm scrolling down through multiple renders. There's definitely less than it seems here, but I will. There's so many red errors. A lot of these will be fixed fairly easily and soon enough, I suppose. Vertex, you're wondering why it thinks it could be null, and that's a great question. The reason why it thinks it could be null is because that is coming in from the series.price. Series is being defined with a type of playlist. Now that type of playlist is defined right here, and this is generated from our playlist. It's defined from our playlist wherever. It might actually be under the name series or playlist. We've had some naming changes as well amongst all of the other things. Playlist.graphql. Playlists, of course. Yes, I have these errors unlock. Yeah, non-nullable fields. So I do have no non-nullable fields. All of these fields could be null at some point, which is kind of, I don't know if that's a great idea. It's something I evaluate either way because they're all potentially null. It's seeing that series dot or playlist dot price is possibly null. So that's where that's coming from here. Maybe scalar or string, all that stuff from generated types. But crushing it, knocked out several components. And like I mentioned, I've been doing this all day. So I am going to go take a break from... Okay, once again, this is not all of these errors. In fact, these are not all of the current errors. This is scrolling through several compilations. In fact, 30 compilations. So let me just save this. Let's get a new one going here. Actually, checkout form. Save this. Let's see if that did it. No, you actually have to detect a change. What are you doing to me? Product controls. There's got to be an error in this file. Of course, I picked the one file in this entire code base that does not have any TypeScript errors in it. Prothon. No errors in this one. Man, what the heck? You'd think with that many errors, I could find one component. There we go. No overload matches this call layout. Why are you doing that? And that's because we had width string as a non-optional parameter. And that's going to fix that. There we go. And, oh, you're just giving me this. Okay, here it goes. Here it goes. Straight killing ya. What are you referring to as my setup link? Like what do you mean? And also, why the heck isn't this recompiling anything? I just fixed a bug. There we go. That's why it wasn't showing anything, because it's like, well, we have too much red to show you. So is this all of it? Oof. Big woof. Big woof. Compilation. 463 input files, 0 files completed. So another day. One of the things that you may also notice about this is that a lot of these tests, if you can read really small, or a lot of these TypeScript errors are coming from our test files. So while our tests are still running, I'm like, I don't know. I go back and forth because I've been having a lot of like dumb issues with React testing library. Not that it's React testing library's fault, although some of it obviously is. I've been having some issues with how React testing library, Jest, TypeScript, and my whole thing play together, causing a whole bunch of red. So a lot of these issues are not actually in the code base, but are just in tests. The tests still work. The tests are passing. The tests compile with Babel. So like, I've just been lazy about fixing some of these. How often do I do some of these live streams? Kenny, I have just started doing this. This is only like my second one recently, but I had done some before, mostly just because I was really bad at it. And I decided I need to at least get better at it. And then I'm going to, once I am have a little bit more time doing this, once I have a little bit more time under my belt doing this, I'm going to have a regular schedule, regular shows. I have some shows planned, but I'm not there yet. But this is actually a rare first stream for me where I didn't have any technical issues. All right, cool. So I am going to, well, I might not stop working on this, but I'm going to stop streaming, and I'll go fix a whole bunch more. Maybe by next time you see, I won't have 10,000 TS errors, and maybe I'll have like 1,000. Who knows? All right. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the syntax episode today. If you are not already on it, let me pull this up here on my mobile device. If you aren't already on it, we released a new episode of Syntax today. Focus on things from web dev past. I thought this was a really great episode. We got to pontificate and talk about a lot of stuff that we used to use. And my camera died because I bumped the table, just like I said it would. All right. Well, thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.